there lived a princess named Seraphina. She was known far and wide not just for her beauty, which was likened to moonlight on calm water, but for her heart, which held a kindness so profound that even the wind whispered her name in reverence. Seraphina was the only child of King Alderic and Queen Elera, rulers beloved by their people. From a young age, she was drawn not to the lavish feasts and velvet gowns of court life, but to the lush gardens that surrounded the castle. There, amidst ancient trees and rare blossoms, she would speak to birds, write poetry, and, some whispered, even hear the flowers whisper back. Among all the flora, her favorite was the midnight rose, a rare flower said to bloom only once every decade under the silver light of a lunar eclipse. Legend claimed it held old magic, born from the tears of the moon goddess herself. Seraphina nurtured the only surviving midnight rose in Ilaria, tucked away in a glass dome in her private garden. But peace never lingers long in tales worth telling. Far to the north, beyond the Crystal Mountains, the land of Drovok festered under the rule of Emperor Caelric, a sorcerer king who believed magic should bow to power, not protect it. Hearing whispers of the midnight rose's magic, he became obsessed. With that flower, he declared, I shall live 1,000 lifetimes, and all the realms will bend the knee. On the eve of the eclipse, under the pretense of diplomacy, Caelric sent envoys bearing poisoned gifts to Ilaria. Though the king and queen fell gravely ill, Seraphina survived, thanks to a protective spell woven into her crown by her mother long ago. Realizing the danger, she knew she could not wait for knights or armies. If Caelric reached the flower, not just her kingdom but all the lands would be enslaved under his dark magic. So, in a cloak of midnight blue, the princess fled with her handmaiden, Leora, and a mysterious ranger named Ashen, who had once been Caelric's apprentice but had turned against him when he saw the truth of his master's cruelty. Their journey was perilous. They crossed the forest of whispering echoes, where lost souls begged for remembrance. They climbed the storm-spire cliffs, where wind spirits tested the heart of every traveler. In the Vale of Mirrors, Seraphina faced visions of herself, cold, crowned in black thorns, ruling over ashes. But she did not break. Ashen, who had once known only shadows, found light in Seraphina's unwavering compassion. Leora, brave and clever, saved them countless times with her wit and cunning. Together they reached the Heart Temple, built beneath the roots of the World Tree, where ancient magic could awaken. There, Seraphina offered her life to protect the Midnight Rose. But the goddess who dwelled within the tree, touched by her selflessness, made another choice. Your courage has rekindled the oldest flame, she said. I shall not take your life, but I shall take your fear. And with that, Seraphina was imbued with the spirit of the moon goddess. Her hair shimmered silver, her eyes glowed like starlight, and in her voice rang truth that could not be denied. When Caelric came, as expected, with shadows and fire, he found not a fragile princess, but a force of grace and wrath. They met beneath the eclipse. Magic clashed in a battle that lit the sky like a second dawn. And when it ended, Caelric's sorcery was broken, his army scattered like leaves in the wind. Seraphina returned to Ilaria not just as a ruler, but as a legend. Her parents recovered. Ashen, free at last from his past, became her guardian, and perhaps more. Leora was named Lady of the Rose Court, founder of an order of warrior scholars. The midnight rose bloomed again, but not just under eclipses. Now, wherever compassion met courage, a petal unfurled. And so, the girl who once whispered to flowers became the Rose Princess, protector of peace, bearer of light, and queen of a new dawn. A year had passed since the fall of Emperor Caelric, and Ilaria had bloomed brighter than ever under Queen Seraphina's gentle rule. Peace reigned, the sick were healed, trade flourished, and every child learned songs of courage sung in the name of the Rose Queen. But even as the world rejoiced, Seraphina carried a quiet weight within her. Her days were filled with duty, and her nights, though peaceful, often echoed with memories, not of war or magic, but of a smile in the shadows. A voice that once guided her through darkness. Ashen. Since their victory, Ashen had remained at her side, serving as captain of the Rose Guard, protector of the crown. He spoke little, yet his silence was never cold. It was the silence of rivers flowing deep, of mountains holding storms. His eyes, gray like morning mist, always watched over her, not with worship but with knowing. He understood her loneliness. He saw past the throne, the titles, the divine spark in her veins. And she saw him. One late autumn evening, when amber leaves drifted like slow-falling stars, Seraphina invited Ashen to walk with her in the moonlit garden, where the midnight rose still bloomed. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked, plucking a petal from a windflower. "Turning against your master? Choosing this path?" Ashen's reply came slow, as it always did. "No. But I wonder if I'm worthy of the peace you've brought. I was once part of the shadows." Seraphina looked at him, long and steady. "You chose to leave the shadows. That is not weakness, Ashen. That is strength." Silence settled again, but this time it was soft like snowfall. He reached into his cloak and revealed a small box carved from starwood. Inside lay a ring made of crystal thorn, a rare, living vine from the forest of whispering echoes. It shimmered with flecks of moonlight and pulsed like a heartbeat. "I found this a year ago," he said. "I've kept it, not knowing if I had the right. But if I may ask, would you let me walk with you, not just in gardens and battles, but through every season of your life?" Tears welled in her eyes, not from sorrow, but from a joy too deep for words. She didn't answer with a speech or a royal decree. She simply took his hand and placed it over her heart. "Yes," she whispered. "Not as queen and captain. As Seraphina and Ashen. As two who chose light." The kingdom rejoiced when their betrothal was announced, but it was no grand affair of politics and gold. Their wedding was held beneath the world tree, where vows were spoken in the old tongue, in the presence of wind, stone, and starlight. Ashen wore no crown. Seraphina wore no veil. They stood as equals, two souls who had braved the dark and emerged together. In the years that followed, the story of the Rose Princess became the story of the Rose Queen and her Shadow Knight. Together they raised not only children, but a new era of unity between magic and man, power and mercy. And in every corner of Alaria, beneath every moon, wherever a rose bloomed, love bloomed too. It had been one full turn of seasons since Seraphina was crowned Queen of Alaria, and though her kingdom thrived under her light, her heart remained untouched by the warmth of love. She had given everything to her people, her courage, her sleepless nights, her healing touch, but the part of her heart reserved for herself remained still, like a lake in winter. Love, after all, could not be commanded like armies or grown like roses. But it could arrive quietly. And so it did. On the night of the Spring Lantern Festival, the capital city of Selira shimmered with soft light. Lanterns floated like fireflies, music echoed in every square, and children danced in flower-strewn streets. Seraphina had always attended these festivals from the palace balcony, but this year she chose to walk among her people. Dressed not in royal gold, but in a simple gown of dusk blue, she wandered the lantern-lit alleys, marveling at the songs, the joy, and the laughter she'd fought so hard to protect. There, beneath a weeping willow strung with lanterns, a young man sang. He wore no jewels, no sword. Only a scarf the color of ash and eyes like burnt honey. His voice carried the ache of old stories and the hope of new beginnings. Children sat at his feet, their faces aglow, as he told tales of heroes, of forests that spoke, and of a princess who once faced the moon with only a rose in her hand. He didn't know she was standing behind him until he finished his song. "Where did you learn that story?" Seraphina asked. The man turned, startled. Then he bowed, not deeply, not as one who feared her, but as one who respected her. "It's told in every village now," he said with a small, lopsided smile. "But I was there in the Vale of Mirrors, your Majesty. I saw you speak to your shadow and choose to be kind." Seraphina studied him. There was no awe in his gaze, only clarity. He saw her not as a goddess queen, but as a woman who once had to be brave. And you are? Thorn, he said. A bard. A wanderer,